At 6:47 a.m. on August 1st, 1943, Lieutenant Colonel Addison Baker and Major John Jerstad climbed into their B-24 Liberator, Hell's Winch, on the hot sands of the Benghazi airfield in Libya. Around them, 178 heavy bombers readied for what would become the longest, lowest, and one of the deadliest bombing missions in U.S. history. Baker, age 36, was commander of the 93rd Bomb Group, a calm, seasoned combat leader with nearly a year of frontline experience. His co-pilot, Major John Jerstad, was only 25, but already a veteran. He'd completed his 25 required missions 3 weeks earlier. He could have gone home to Oregon, but he volunteered for this one. They both knew the statistics. They both knew the odds, and they both climbed aboard anyway. The mission was Operation Tidal Wave, a strike on the Plosti oil refineries in Romania. These refineries supplied 30% of all fuel used by Nazi Germany. Without Plosti, German tanks stalled. U-boats sat motionless. Luftwaffe fighters couldn't take off. Military intelligence estimated 50% casualties. Not 5, 50. The plan required a 2,400-mile round trip at altitudes between 50 and 500 feet, flying at treetop height straight through one of the most heavily defended targets in Europe. The 8th Air Force had already lost 47 B-24s just in training for this mission. Pilots had slammed into water, hit hillsides, clipped the ground in tight formations. They were told to expect 90 aircraft lost over the target. Baker knew it. Jerstad knew it. But they also knew the mission could shorten the war by months and save thousands of lives. At 7 a.m., engines thundered across Benghazi. 178 B-24s lifted into the sky and formed up over the Mediterranean. Hell's Winch led the 93rd Bomb Group, 18 aircraft following Baker's lead. The formation climbed to 19,000 feet, then descended to wave-top height over the Aegean Sea. They skimmed over Greece and Yugoslavia, so low they could see villagers look up in shock as the bombers roared overhead. Everything depended on timing. Everything depended on precision. And then, disaster struck. A B-24 from the navigation lead group lost power. It ditched in the sea, killing the entire crew. That aircraft carried the mission's primary navigator. There was no backup with full knowledge of the flight route. The most important navigator on the mission was gone, and the formation was now flying blind. At 9:05 a.m., the formation reached the initial point, the place where every bomb group was supposed to turn toward the target. But the new lead group misidentified a valley. They turned toward Bucharest, not Plosti. Baker saw the mistake immediately. He grabbed the radio, called repeatedly. No answer. German jamming drowned out everything. Now he had a choice. Follow the mistaken lead group, or break away and attack the target alone. If he followed, the mission failed. If he broke away, his 18 B-24s would fly straight into the strongest concentration of anti-aircraft guns in Europe, with no support. He made the decision in 5 seconds. Baker banked Hell's Winch hard left. The entire 93rd followed. One group, alone, against an entire city of guns. Plosti appeared ahead, a maze of refineries, towers, chimneys, and smoke. Hundreds of barrage balloons floated above it, steel cables hanging down like a forest of wires designed to slice wings clean off. Hell's Winch entered the defense zone at 470 feet. German guns opened up instantly. 230 anti-aircraft guns, 88mm cannons, machine guns on rooftops. Smoke fired debris. The air turned black. Baker weaved through balloon cables appearing out of nowhere, rolling left, then right, dodging obstacles by feet, sometimes inches. An 88mm shell exploded beneath them. Shrapnel tore through the belly. Fuel pressure dropped. Oil temperatures spiked. But the B-24 kept flying. 1 mile from the target, Hell's Winch clipped a cable. A barrage balloon, 300 pounds of drag, latched onto the right wing. The aircraft lurched, pulled sideways. Then another explosion. An 88mm shell punched into the right wing root. Fuel sprayed. It ignited instantly. The entire wing erupted in fire. Inside the cockpit, temperatures soared. Smoke poured in. Metal glowed red. Baker looked down. An open field, perfect for an emergency landing. He could save the crew. Jerstad looked at him, said nothing, reached for the bomb release panel. They continued the run. Flames raced along the wing. The aluminum skin rippled. Rivets popped. The wing was disintegrating, but Hell's Winch held course. At 400 feet, weaving through smokestacks, Baker kept the aircraft level. Bombardier John McCormick lined up the crosshairs. At the perfect second, he released the bombs. Hell's Winch lurched upward, as 4,000 pounds dropped away. The entire 93rd released simultaneously 72,000 pounds of high explosive raining into the Astro Romana refinery. Delayed fuse bombs punched deep into buildings before detonating. Massive fireballs erupted across the complex. They had hit the target perfectly, but Hell's Winch was still too low, too close, too damaged. Baker turned south, trying to climb above the blast radius, but the fire had destroyed the control surfaces. The aircraft struggled to climb 100 feet per minute. Then the bombs below detonated. The shock wave slammed the B-24 upward and sideways. Still, Baker kept flying. For B-24s from the 93rd were shot down, escaping the target. More followed. Hell's Winch kept burning. They climbed to 1,000 feet, then 1,500, then 1,900. Baker was trying to get high enough for his crew to bail out over Yugoslavia, partisan territory, where they could be rescued. But the engines began dying one by one. The aircraft was losing speed, losing altitude, losing structure. At 1,900 feet, the last good engine quit. And then, the right wing failed. 28 feet of wing tore free from the fuselage. Hell's Winch rolled inverted instantly. Centrifugal force pinned every man in place. No one could reach an escape hatch. The bomber tumbled downward, spinning faster and faster. Fuselage burning, ammunition cooking off inside. At 300 feet, Jerstad reached across the cockpit, placed a hand on Baker's shoulder. The two men, who had chosen the mission over survival, acknowledged each other one last time. Hell's Winch hit the ground at over 300 miles per hour. The explosion carved a crater 40 feet wide. All 10 crew members died instantly. Romanian villagers arrived first. They recovered what they could. They marked the graves with wooden crosses. Operation Tidal Wave ended at 10:32 a.m. Hundreds of airmen were dead. Dozens of aircraft lost. But the refineries were burning, crippled. German fuel production was shattered. Lieutenant Colonel Addison Baker, Major John Jerstad, and the men of Hell's Winch gave everything. They could have landed safely. They could have bailed out. But if they did, 17 bombers behind them would have followed, and the mission would have failed. So they flew their burning B-24 straight into the target and straight into history. And in the end, that burning B-24 never made it home. Those airmen knew exactly what they were doing. They could have bailed out. They could have turned back. But instead, they aimed their failing, flaming aircraft straight at the enemy position and held it steady until the very last second. They didn't choose safety. They chose duty. They chose each other. And they chose to finish the mission, no matter the cost. Stories like this remind us that history isn't made by machines or medals. It's made by the courage of ordinary Americans who refuse to quit. If this story moved you, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves aviation history. Because these heroes deserve to be remembered. Not just today, but forever.